Changing into a snake and going after all her neighbors was sweet until she got caught by 7 security guards who thought they had caught a normal snake. But that snake was Amma, and they planned on using her to cook a pepper soup. Meanwhile, her husband was looking for her in the house at 3 in the morning. This was the second time his wife had suddenly disappeared from the bed. "I can't take this anymore. That woman must leave my house when she returns from wherever she goes," he said. Amma was inside the bag as a snake. She knew she could not allow the security men to use her for the pepper soup, and time was running out. She remembered that if she didn't change back into a human before 6, she would remain a snake forever. The men took the snake to their checkpoint and put the bag on the ground. They were talking, discussing, and laughing. They didn't bother to check on the snake because they assumed it was not dead. But Amma the snake strategically managed and made her way out of the bag. The men never knew. They were focused on the road. The snake ran fast out and headed straight towards Mr. Sam's house, their neighbor. She passed through the window into the house. She changed into a human and went to meet her husband, who was angrily waiting for her. "Where are you coming from? It's 5:45. Can you tell me where you went this night?" he asked. "My love, calm down. You know we've been struggling to have kids. I should have told you this earlier, but I've been having midnight prayers at the nearby park alone. I am praying for us to have kids. I had to do this alone because it was an instruction given by a spiritual person." Amma lied again. "Be careful. You can't just go out of bed at midnight without telling me, especially when it's outside the house. Do this one more time and you are packing out of my house," her husband warned. The next morning she was so angry with the security men who caught her and delayed her last night. By the next night she changed into a snake and went out again. She finished all of them at their duty post and also went into 2 of her neighbors' homes, biting them until they passed away. She did all that because she was angry, and she transferred her anger to the innocent neighbors. The next day, 2 neighbors and 7 security officers were confirmed gone by the families. This raised more fear among the other neighbors. Amma was behind it all. No one still understood why she didn't like her neighbors. After a month, something happened. Amma's mother-in-law came visiting. With her was Patience, a wife for her son to marry, because she was tired of waiting for a grandchild, and it seemed like Amma could not give her a grandchild. "From today onwards, Patience is going to be your wife," mother-in-law said. "Oh, Mama, but my husband never asked for a second wife." "We hoped that prayer would resolve my barrenness, not a second wife." Amma quickly interrupted the conversation. "Close your mouth. Don't talk while I'm talking to my son. If you can't give me a grandchild, then Patience will," her mother-in-law said, and left Patience with them. From now on, Patience would be living with them. But Amma the snake woman didn't like that idea because she couldn't share her husband with another. She thought about changing into a snake and finishing Patience. But the fear of being caught because it would be obvious made her decide to handle it in a different way. The first night Patience slept in that house, all she saw was plenty of snakes chasing her in her dreams. The second night, it got worse. She was not just seeing plenty of snakes in her dreams, but even during the daytime, it was like she was hallucinating. As long as she closed her eyes, she would see the snakes. This was terrifying, and the house felt scary to her, so she packed her things and left without leaving a word. All this happening was the handwork of Amma. Yes, that's because Amma was not just a witch, but belonged to a snake group. Amma did not kill Patience because it would look obvious, because she was already against the arrangement made by her mother-in-law. Her mother-in-law heard that Patience, the new wife she brought for her son, had run away, and she thought it was Amma who quarreled with her. She boarded the next bus to her son's house to confront Amma about why the new wife had left the house. The question is, does her mother-in-law even know who she is really dealing with? "I think she should be careful. Amma continued changing into a snake and kept finishing her neighbors day after day, to the extent that over 16 of her neighbors had died because of her. But here's the shocking part. Her husband had begun to notice something was not okay, because whenever his wife went out at night, something would happen to one neighbor by morning. She kept lying to him that she went for night prayers and other things, so mother-in-law arrived at her son's house after confronting Amma and had several fights about the son marrying and she not being able to give them a child. Amma finally got tired of her mother-in-law and decided to show her another side, so she used her witchcraft to place a curse on her. While her mother-in-law was traveling back to the family house after the fight, she had an accident that left her in a wheelchair and unable to talk. Finally, that woman won't be able to walk here or tell my husband anything again, Amma said happily. One of her neighbors, popularly known as Cashman, a known womanizer always using his money to go after other men's wives instead of getting himself a permanent one, had been eyeing Amma for a while. He saw how beautiful she looked. She fitted his spec and he had been thinking of a way to get to her even though he knew she was married. So one evening, Amma was taking a street walk. Cashman finally approached her and told Amma he liked her. "That sounds crazy," Amma said unwillingly. Cashman believed that with money you could convince any woman because it had always worked for him. "Me?" Amma asked. "Yes, listen," Cashman affirmed. "I know you are married, but this is what we do. I know you need money. Your husband won't give you all the money you need because you are just a housewife. We the big men give you what you want just for one night," he said confidently. Amma smiled with a lot of thoughts in her head. "Maybe I need to use this man as my next food. I am hungry," she thought. Amma came out of her thoughts and said yes to Cashman and said, "I like you too," and that they would meet in his house at night. "Don't worry, I am hungry for you," Amma said. Cashman went back to his house happily. "She said she's hungry for me," he shouted, but he was wrong. Amma meant something else. Then suddenly, he began to think, how can they meet at night instead of day? A married woman must be sleeping with her husband at night, or maybe she has a way to come out. He screamed happily, ready to enjoy himself. The night finally came, but this time Amma's husband was not fully asleep. Immediately, Amma stood up and left the room, and the husband secretly followed her. By this time, Amma didn't turn into a snake immediately. She just wanted to walk to Cashman's house before doing her thing. Her husband followed her and saw her walking into their neighbor's house. Immediately, he felt heartbroken. So this was the prayer she had been doing, cheating on me. He felt so angry and rushed to Cashman's house. As soon as Cashman opened the door for his wife and held the hand of Amma, the husband shouted in shock. Amma was surprised to see her husband. "How dare you touch my wife?" He fought Cashman, left some bruises on his face and broke some other few things in his house. He dragged his wife back to the house and locked her inside a room. Taking the key, "You're not getting out of that room," he said. By morning, the police came and arrested Mr. Isaac, Amma's husband, for trespassing, assault, and property damage. Even though the person had tried to take advantage of his wife, all this happened without Amma knowing because she was still locked. Amma stayed locked till midnight. She changed into her snake form and got out of the locked room. That was when she realized that her husband had been arrested by the police. All because of one Cashman. That man will die the most painful death, she screamed. Midnight again. Amma had slithered out of the locked room, fangs glistening, rage boiling. She glided through the silent streets, thinking only of revenge on Cashman, the security men, the neighbors. But at the edge of the city, the wind changed. It smelled of water, ancient water. Far away, Odo Afinso, the sacred river, began to churn. "O child of mine," the river spirit whispered, rising from the mist, You were given a body to punish the stubborn elders. But you have drunk too deeply. You have taken innocent lives. Now your time is over, Amma hissed and coiled. No, you cannot take me. I am powerful. But the sky cracked. Thunder rolled. In the distance, the mosque's call to prayer echoed 5 o'clock. The first light of dawn crept over the roofs. The spirit stretched its hand, half woman, half serpent. You remember the law, it said. Return to human before 6 or remain snake forever. Amma spun and fled toward her house, desperate to change back, desperate to reach her husband's bed before sunrise. She slithered across the street, through a drain, through a window, but the first ray of sunlight struck her scales. She tried to rise, but her body stiffened. Her face melted into a cobra's hood. Her voice turned into a hiss. She could no longer speak, no longer think, only hunger. When Mr. Isaac returned from the police station at dawn, he opened the door and froze. On the bedroom floor lay a giant green snake, its eyes blazing, its mouth open. It tried to crawl to him, but the moment the clock struck 6, it froze solid. Before his eyes, the creature turned to stone, half woman, half snake. The news spread quickly. People came from everywhere to see the cursed statue in the house of Isaac. Priests poured libation, elders prayed, and the statue was carried to the banks of the Odo River and cast into its depths. To this day, they say, on misty mornings you can hear a hiss from the river, a hiss that sounds like a woman crying. Children are warned not to defile sacred waters and never to leave their beds at midnight. And so the story of Amma the Snake Woman became a warning. No one hides evil forever. The river always takes back what belongs to it. Subscribe, like, comment, and share to support us.